Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Back at it again, Tuesday, March 12th, 2019. This is Gary Chicken Ingram with the Sports Talk Show, Say What You Need to Say. And I hope you guys out there are having a great start of your week. My week is starting off pretty good. And of course, on this show, got to keep it clean, but we're going to say exactly what we need to say about today's topics. We have three topics that we're going to hit today. We're going to talk about college players getting paid in college. We're also going to hit on the 2019 MLB season and minor league season that's almost underway. Spring training is in full effect right now. And we're also going to discuss that NFC championship game that pretty much nobody wants to discuss anymore. The LA Rams and the New Orleans Saints on their way to trying to make it to a Super Bowl. But we did have a hiccup in that game, and it is one particular call that a referee made that could have made the game go New Orleans' way. But at this time, we're going to go ahead and get with our caller. We got a caller that's calling in from Cincinnati, Ohio. His name is Mr. Alvin Brown. Mr. Brown, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
How you doing today, sir?
Not too bad. And yourself?
Great. I'm doing great, man. How's the weather up there in Cincinnati, Ohio?
It's been a little cold, little rainy, but today was a beautiful day. It was warm, and you had some sunshine today.
Nice. Yeah, you guys tend to thaw out a little bit later than we do down here in Atlanta, Georgia, but that's okay. You in the warm, I'm in the warm, and we're about to get into these discussions about these three topics that I mentioned earlier, and I think this is going to be some great discussion tonight. We're going to start off with this first discussion that has been talked about over the past few months, and it could be a touchy subject because, we talk about college players getting paid while in college. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about some of the top 20 most profitable college football programs out there that's making a boatload of money. And when I mean money, I mean millions. I don't mean thousands. I'm talking about 6 zeros and some. Mr. Brown, what do you think about the situation with college players actually, getting paid from these top schools?
Well, at first I used to be against it, but then, I look at, like you said, these statistics with all these teams, these colleges making all this money off the back of these young kids. Yeah, they give them a scholarship and grants, but, a lot of these kids are still struggling, have to find jobs and stuff, and some of these kids don't even make it. I think, honestly, I think it should be some kind of revenue kickback for the kids. Not saying, pay them a bunch of money, but it should be a flat fee across the scale where it's not somebody getting paid more than the other. It should be a flat fee all the way around.
Wow. You know what? You made a great point, Mr. Brown, where you say that some of these kids should get some type of monies or some type of fee for playing. And, I kind of agree with you in a sense that, and I'll have my other point on the disagreement, but here are the top 20 most profitable college football programs out there today. And the SEC is leading on the field and the balance sheet with 9 of their schools in the top 20. You're going to listen to some of these numbers that they're making, and it's unbelievable. Notre Dame is making $54 million out of their program. University of Michigan, $56 million. Oklahoma, $48 million. University of Georgia, $50 million. LSU, $58 million. Ohio State, $50 million. Auburn, $47 million. Texas, $92 million. And it keeps going, people. South Carolina, $28 million. USC, $29 million. Penn State, $36 million. Michigan State, $32. Texas A&M, $37. Florida, $37. Washington, $38. Arkansas, $30. Florida State, $39. Oregon, $40. Alabama, $46 million. This is a total of $925 million after expenses, ladies and gentlemen, that they're taking in. That's a lot of money, isn't it, Mr. Brown?
Yes, sir. Yes, it is.
And you mean to tell me that out of all of that money, that they can't pay the kids something? Or I don't know. I don't know. I'm not in the accounting office for these teams and these schools, but that's a lot of money that these schools are making. And the schools actually bring in more money than their expenses that they have to pay for. Do you think that's fair?
I mean, it's a business. You know, it's a business, it's a school. I mean, the school's going to generate money. But I look at it like this. You know, what about these kids that don't make it?
Right.
You know, you made all this money off these kids that don't make it, and now what are they doing in their lives? You know,
great.
There should be some kind of kickback where these kids, they're going to get their education and so forth, but you know, these are athletes. These are guys that sacrificing their bodies for your school to generate money for your school.
Hey, you know what? You're saying exactly what you want to say. And what I'm going to do, though, I'm going to flip the script on you a little bit, see if I can throw a monkey wrench in what you said, because the way I look at it, too, I think they should get something for helping them generate those type of millions of dollars. But in a sense, sometimes when you start paying student athletes, sometimes they'll get content. Sometimes they won't give the effort that you really need them to do, because if you really look at it, a lot of those players, they got one thing in mind: to get to the NFL, right?
Right.
So pretty much they're going to go out there and try to play their butt off to get chosen in the draft or get looked at by a team. So some of the players also know that they're not going to make it to the NFL. So I think if they can split it, I don't know how they can do that, but the players that I say that if you put up certain numbers that help the school actually win bowl games, get to certain statistics that they need to draw this revenue, I think that they should be able to give them kids something. What other thoughts you got on that?
Well, I was thinking, like, you know, it should be divvied up as, you know, a freshman, a junior, a senior. It should be a pay scale according to the years you put in.
Right. You're right. I think you got a very valid point.
You know, it make that across the board for every school, so then there's nobody getting paid more than the next. It's a base for every school.
So what would
because these,
what do you think the base pay should be in your opinion?
You know what? I don't know. That would be hard to put a number on.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Because like you said, all this money they've generated, that'll be hard. That'll be something that the NCAA have to sit down and make a rule, because you know they busted all these colleges for illegal, some kind of illegal activity going on.
Yeah.
You know, money under the table or this and that.
Yeah, they got to.
You know what I'm saying? It has to be governed a different way through the NCAA.
And the schools got to be really careful at not breaking any of those NCAA policy rules, because if they do, they get suspended right out the gate, don't they?
Well, yeah, they do.
So going back to that monetary figure we think these players should get now, let's just make up a number. Me and you right now, we at the table with the NCAA executives and accounting department. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say what I need to say. I'm gonna say them players should get paid per game, and if they get to a bowl, I think it should double. Let's say give a player, because there's a lot of players on the team. I would say the least you should give a player is $3,000 a game. Now, you remember those numbers I called out, the 40 millions, the 50 millions, the 38 millions, that's a lot of money. So $3,000 is not gonna hurt their pocket. And plus, like I said, they're taking in more money than their expenses. So that's extra money. And I get it. They have to pay the head coaches and all. You know, the head coach is the one that get the money, correct?
Correct.
So these guys go to these major programs, and like I say, Texas is number one as far as the revenue that they get. But what kind of money you think a player should get? I want to hear this from you, Mr. Brown. You sound like you got a pretty good head on your shoulders. What kind of money you think they should get per game?
I like what you said. I like what you said about $3,000 a game. You know, I mean, but then again, you got to look. You know, a lot of these teams are carrying 40 or 50 students. You know, and saying it's going to come down to, you can't really base it on, you know, if you play or don't play. You know, that's what I'm saying. If you're a senior, it should be set this way. If you're a junior, you should be set this way. If you're freshman, it should be set this way.
Yeah, you got another valid point, it's so many variables that can go into this, what we're talking about. It's going to have to be a long sit down and some long talks on how they want to do that. But, who knows? They might do it and they might not, but it's not going to be up to us. It's going to be up to the NCAA and all the schools and see how they want to do that. But going to our next topic, we're going to move on over to the 2019 MLB season and the minor league season. I'm pretty sure as kids grow up today, a lot of kids aren't playing pro baseball. They're starting to lean towards football and basketball first. But me being a former major league player and minor league player, it's tough. But I got a question for you, Mr. Brown. Did you play baseball when you was coming up?
I did. Actually, I got blessed enough to play a little bit of professional baseball like yourself.
Really? Where'd you play?
I played for about 14 years. I played a little bit overseas. Played AA, AAA baseball.
Nice. Okay. So I'm talking to a professional baseball player right now. Former.
A former, yes, sir.
Nice. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we got Mr. Alvin Brown, former baseball player, on the line with us tonight. Hey, this should be right up your alley, sir. I got a question for you, though, since you did play professional baseball in the minor leagues and coming up. The question I have right now is, do you think are the players in the minor leagues better now or 10 years ago? What do you think?
Honestly, I would have to say 10 years ago, because the respect level of the game, and then the way the guys play. A lot of unwritten rules that I see get broken down, and then just the style of baseball that's being played now compared to back in the days when I played.
What do you mean unbroken rules, unwritten rules? Clarify that for us.
What I mean is, sliding hard, hustling, hitting and running, money, stealing. For example, I watched, not this year, but last year's World Series with the Dodgers and Houston.
Yeah.
I mean, them guys diving all over the plate. Back in the days, we pitched inside. You get knocked down, you jumping across that plate. I didn't see no pitching inside. I didn't see nobody feared at the plate. Everybody coming up to it, they was going to hit a home run.
So
back when I was playing, you was just happy to get on base.
There you go. Hey, you speaking just like a pitcher that probably you must have threw hard back in the day.
I threw a little bit hard, a little bit.
No, but by hearing you sound like you threw a little gas. And you know what? I agree with you 100%, man. And like you say, these guys today, the elite pitching from 10 years ago, they threw inside. They knocked the guy back. A guy did not get too comfortable in the batter's box. And now, I guess if you even throw a piece of air by a guy's arm, they feel like you're trying to throw at him. Is that true?
Well, look at them now. Look at all the equipment that they wear. They wear face shield and arm bands and all that. Back in the day, you just threw some batting gloves on or threw some dirt on your hand and got up there and looked for a pitch to dry.
Absolutely, man. I'm right with you on that, man. And you know what? You made a good point right there. And I myself think that 10 years ago, I think the caliber of player was better. And I think that has to do to, I'm not going to say they're not doing it now, but it seems like players 10 years ago grinded harder. It's almost like, they wanted it more, or they treated it like this was a golden opportunity. I've been coaching the last 18 years professional ball, and sometimes you get kids that don't have the fire that some guys do. Some kids are content with playing minor league baseball, and some of them want to be a major league player, and those are the ones that you want to have. Now, going to the next step after you play the minor leagues, guys get called up in September or midway through the season. Do you think a lot of these kids that are getting action in the major leagues really quick are worth those call-ups? from what you see?
From what I see, some of them, yeah. Some of them I see they're not ready.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like they're rushing guys because I don't think there's nothing in the minor leagues where they can wait.
Wow, man. You tough tonight, boy. You one of my strongest callers, man. You telling it like you saying what you need to say. And for me, of course, in September, they like to expand those rosters, and they're going to call up some guys to see what they got. They're going to call up some guys to reward them for having a pretty good minor league season. And sometimes they just need the bodies on the bench to help them through that September thing. Now, I got another topic about the minor leagues as well. From 10 years ago to now, do you think that they're speeding these kids through the minor leagues too fast, or you think they're moving at a pretty good pace to get to the major league?
Well, it just depends on the organization. It depends on the organization.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I still follow baseball a little bit. I still have a lot of friends in professional baseball.
Nice.
And certain organizations, they're taking their time. Mm-hmm. But then you got a lot of these organizations that don't really have anybody. I mean, look at some of these organizations where they don't have no big name. They got all young guys, which is great.
Right.
Which is great. But some of them guys, are not ready. Right. And when I'm saying ready is, when you play on a major league level, the game is different. It's different than playing in a minor leagues. AAA is a little close to the major leagues because a lot of those guys been up there and down. Mm-hmm. But major leagues is playing at a certain level day in and day out.
Absolutely, man. And just like you say, past 18 years I've been coaching, and 10 years ago, well, I'm gonna say when I first started playing in the 90s, man, you had to hit 320, 330, first of all, to be considered a good hitter. You had to drive and runs. You had to get runs in from. I mean, I'm not saying that they're not doing that now, but it's like for me back then, it was almost like we had to do something really, really well to get promoted to the next level, let alone getting sped through the minor leagues, let alone getting.
Well, you had to stand out. You had to stand out. You had to put numbers up where they're like, wow, man, this guy got to go.
Exactly. And today, looking at numbers, guys are getting promoted, hitting 240, 230, 235. And the stolen base is really not in the game as much as it used to be. It was guys, Juan Pierre still so many bases. It was crazy. Guys don't really steal bases like they used to, and for me, if you can steal second base, that guy can score from second a whole lot easier than he can score from first. But I think some of the kids. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, because like you just made a point there. One thing I've learned, because I'm still in baseball. Now I'm fine. I'm on the other end of the game now, mm-hmm. But the thing that I'm watching when I'm watching these major league games is the strategy. They're more on strategy on paper, technical stuff. Okay, I got a left-handed guy. I'm gonna bring a left-hand pitcher. Before it was all about my pitcher that I got out there go get everybody out.
Right. You right.
There's too much strategy trying to do matchups, and a lot of time they get burnt. I watched that in this past World Series.
Yeah.
I love Dave Roberts. I know Dave Roberts. I played with Dave Roberts.
Uh-huh.
It was a lot of pitching change. I think he burnt his bullpen early. He played his trump cards too early.
Okay, then. Well, you being a former pitcher, hey, you would know better than anybody else. Now, there might be some listeners out there that's going to be leaving comments saying, Mr. Brown, watch your tone. But, Mr. Brown, you say what you need to say on this show, man, because you bring an insight on what happened 10 years ago up until now, and even further before then. And like I said, it's funny you brought that point up. The last two teams that won a World Series, they actually went about the game like they did 10 or 15 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Hey, mm-hmm. The Astros and the Boston Red Sox with two strikes, man, it was tough to strike out. Seriously.
Right.
They put the ball in play with 2 strikes, which created more opportunities for them to score. They hit line drives all over the place and some home runs. But those 2 teams actually was kind of mirroring what the teams were like 10 or 15 years ago, especially when I came back. I'm pretty sure when you came up as well. But, the minor leagues is a process. And people got to understand, some guys are going to make it. Some guys aren't. I was fortunate enough to be able to make it to the major league level and play there. Due to injuries, I shortened my time. But it's all a process, man. And I think that's one reason why kids don't really play baseball as much, because they want that instant fame instead of putting in that hard work to get there. But hey, man, you speaking like a champion right now, man. But we're gonna move on to our last and final topic of the night, and I'm probably gonna get some thumbs downs on Facebook and YouTube for this, but especially from some Who Dat Saint fans. I know a few myself personally. Me being from the Atlanta area, we're gonna talk about that NFL NFC Championship game by the LA Rams and the New Orleans Saints that was played at the Mercedes-Benz Super Bowl this past year. Did you watch the game?
I did.
What you thought about the game and your thoughts?
Like I said, being official, sometimes you miss calls. You're a human being.
Hold on. I'm about to throw some wood on the fire right now. I know you on the other side now, being an umpire and stuff, and you might be trying to take up for this guy, but hey, man.
No.
Okay. I just want to say what I need to say to clear that up. Okay, so I'm gonna let you continue. Go ahead, sir.
No, I'm just saying, being a human being, and official, especially in a big game, sometimes you get caught up in the game,
right?
And instead of you officiate the game, you're watching the game.
I hear you.
Yes, that was a bad call. That was obvious. The play was right in front of you.
Hey, man,
it was a bad call. but my thing is, you can't let one call define your season.
Absolutely.
You can't let one call define your season. You still got to keep playing. Everybody in the world see that call.
Right.
Everybody sees it.
Hey, this kind of goes back to that historic play at Cubs Stadium with Moises Alou trying to make a play on that ball down the line. Do you remember that game?
I sure do.
That actually, I forgot that dude's name, Barton or something. That actually, when he decided to interfere with that play, he pretty much put a bullseye on his face for the rest of his life. I don't even know how that guy feels. I know he feels bad. I feel bad for him too, man. And he's a fan.
Well, you know when the Cubs when they finally won their World Series, they forgave the guy because they had him at the game and they forgave him.
Absolutely, you're right. So all can be forgiven in this game, but in this football game though, this guy's gonna catch it for the next few years or until the Saints get back. But I'm gonna go over some stats of that game. I was excited to see the Rams in there, and especially Todd Gurley, who's a University of Georgia product that was coming back home to play. And Sean McVay was the youngest coach in NFC game. Sean Payton was leading the Saints. The Saints got off to an early 13-0 lead on a pair of field goals and a touchdown. My man Breeze had 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. And they only rushed for 48 yards, so their ground game was ineffective. Now the Rams, them jokers responded quickly before the end of the first half, making it 13-10 at halftime. So Jared Goff and Breeze, they did what they were supposed to do, man. But and I'm gonna tell you what Goff did. He has a pretty good line. Actually, he got the offense going by outscoring the Saints 26-10 from the first quarter. He was 25 for 40 with 297 yards, a touchdown, an interception with an 83.0 passer rating. And like I said, the ground game was pretty much ineffective for both teams. Todd Gurley, he wasn't really effective. I think he kind of got injured a little bit. But But before regulation, the Saints was in control, and that one bad call flipped the script of the entire game. And as you can see, if you type in NFC game, they probably got that same play still floating around on the internet right now. And clearly, I thought the dude tackled him in midair before the ball even got there. So, hey, man, and if that flag was thrown, guess what? The Saints would have won the game. Am I right or wrong?
Though. You can't. That's prediction. You don't know what next play might have had. They might have fumbled, might have got sacked. You don't know.
Mr. Brown, do you have a crystal ball sitting in front of you?
I do not. But I'm a realist.
But you did see the video and the slow-mo replay of that play, right?
That I did.
Okay, so you're saying if they get that call going the right way, because remember, all the Saints had to do, they was going to run the clock down. They had it won. Right?
Right.
So you can't sit here, Mr. Brown, and say, hey, you're speculating. I'm saying what I need to say, man, but I tell you one thing.
Let me challenge you on this.
Go ahead, sir. That's what this show is about.
Me and you both have been around in professional sports for quite some time.
Yes, sir.
And we have seen a lot of miracle, a lot of crazy mishaps, a lot of weird stuff go on in sports.
Yes, sir. Right.
Exactly. So my thing is, nothing is never defined into the end when there's no time and ain't nothing left.
Hey, you know what, Mr. Brown? I'm agree with you. You know why? Because guess what? Drew Brees being the champion he is, they could have scored more touchdowns, and this play wouldn't even affected the game, right?
Exactly.
I know exactly where you was going with this, and I agree with you. Because I hate when people say, well, if that ref wouldn't have been blind, but listen, the game is always based on whether you playing soccer, football, badminton, golf. Whoever has the most points at the end of the contest, that's who wins the game, correct?
Correct.
So
I'll give you an example.
Give it to us. Give it to the listeners.
You remember the Duke game where Christian Laettner made that crazy shot from the free throw, and I'm trying to remember who they were playing. It just was.
It wasn't Kansas.
I think it was. I can't remember. But there was like really no time on the clock to really even get a shot off. And I want to say it was Kansas, and they were thinking they got the game won because they had to throw the ball in from half court.
Yeah.
And look what happened. So that's what I'm saying. That play was obvious. Pass interference. You could throw everybody in that stadium could have threw a flag on that play. I mean, it was obvious.
It was super obvious, man. But you know what? Right. Hey, I give kudos to the Rams, Sean McVay being the youngest coach going to the Super Bowl. And you know what, man? The Super Bowl, to me, it was a boring Super Bowl, but those Rams ran into, guess who? The GOAT, Tom Brady, and the Patriots. So, hey, we can sit here and talk all night about this topic, about this game, but one thing we do know that referee made a pretty bad call, and the Saints fans will let you know. I got a few of them that you can't talk about this around them. It might be some chucking and ducking going on, but hey, man, like you said earlier, people are human. People make mistakes, and you know, at those type of moments in those games, you know, you gotta wait a few seconds so you can make the right call. But I hope he bounces back next season in the NFL if they allow him to be there. But hey, he gonna have to say what he need to say one of these days too. But Mr. Brown, that is gonna conclude our show tonight. Sir, I really do appreciate you calling in from Cincinnati, Ohio. Hey, you was pretty firm tonight. You was pretty firm, and I really do appreciate that. And hopefully we can get you back on the line again. But I tell you one thing, man. These college players getting paid, I think it's a good thing, but I think it's gonna have to be controlled in a way to where it doesn't get too lucrative or too out of hand for the NCAA to like come back and bring it back in. And also, we talked about those minor league players hey, it's some up and coming stars coming up, man, on the way. And I'm talking about it's some good ones. And we rounded it off with the NFC Championship game for the LA Rams to go to the Super Bowl to lose to Mr. Brady and the Patriots. But again, once again, Mr. Brown, we appreciate it. And hey, man, stay warm up there in Cincinnati, Ohio. Appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks. I appreciate you for having me.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to conclude tonight's sports talk show. Say What You Need to Say, March the 12th, 2019. Hey, that Mr. Alvin Brown out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Hey, man, he was a tough cookie. Woo! He knew his stuff, and he stayed firm to his stuff, but those are some very interesting topics. Hey, don't forget to leave comments. Go on the YouTube page, say what you need to say, subscribe, leave your comments, and also leave an email or a contact number where I can contact you to get you on the show. If you need to contact me, my cell number is 706-464-0090, or you can email me at Gary, Garey, Ingram, @yahoo.com. Again, coming from Atlanta, sports talk show, Say What You Need to Say. Make sure that you get on this radio when you talk to me and you say what you need to say. Have a good one, people.